from the Salvation Army National Headquarters, this is the Fight for Good podcast.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Fight for Good podcast. I'm your host, Lieutenant Colonel Tim Foley. We're broadcasting here in Alexandria, Virginia on a beautiful spring afternoon. We are still in COVID crisis and producing these podcasts remotely under our auspice, I can't even say it right, but our illustrious producer, maybe, Elizabeth. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello there.
Things well on your side of the planet?
They are doing very well on my side of the planet. Thank you.
Well, still within the city limits here. Also joining us is our assistant to the editorial director, Michelle Caceres. Michelle, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
You know, I've been reflecting here a little bit and thinking that we're pushing almost to the year, not quite with this May issue, but almost a year of this little idea I had, and I gave it to you last July to run with. Well, actually, you kind of had the idea, and then I think you made me think that it was my idea. But our millennial section has really kind of taken off under your leadership and vision and your input. What's been the kind of the response on that particular part of the war cry so far?
I haven't seen anything bad. It's all been pretty positive. I really like that I get to interview people that I never would normally get to speak to, probably ever. And then when I do post those, because I actually reshare the stories as well on my social media, because, it's my interview. I want to show it off.
Right.
And I'll get friends and family and be like, wait, my friend actually just told me the other day, he was like, I've been following Jeff Bethke for years. And he's like, this guy's so cool. I can't believe you interviewed him. And I'm like, that makes me feel good to know that I'm reaching, an audience that even my own friends do care about, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think that does make a lot of sense because, I mean, you're tapped into your generation, your thoughts, the way that you're approaching life as you know it, and your circle of friends. I think that's so important, and I'm really glad that we've kind of taken this page or these pages on, because I feel like it gives it a little maybe what's the word here, flair.
Yeah. I think it's very, I think it is different with the rest of our content, and yet it still goes with, just what the war cry is about.
Well, I also feel like, millennials get a bad rap all the time. And I was thinking about that the other day. I was listening to a song by The Who, I think it was probably written in the 60s. It's my generation, back in the 60s, you had, the hippies and the early baby boomers were kind of finding and searching for their own identity. Every generation kind of has that sort of challenge before them. There's just so many different creative things that I see happening within the millennial generation. I think it's exciting for the future. And you're focused on that. I mean, you're zooming in on vloggers and podcasts and all kinds of different things. What are some of the other things like coming up in this section you're thinking about? Is there any kind of new content, any kind of new trends or anything that you're projecting and you want to report on?
I think it really too depends on how long this quarantine is going to go on for, because it's, I see that a lot of millennials, one of the biggest people that I interview are influencers, whether that's authors, podcasters, YouTubers, bloggers, Instagrammers, you name it. Influencers is a career nowadays. And a lot of the people I interview, that's their job. The problem is when you can't go do your job, it's kind of hard to be an influencer from home sometimes. So I just think it'll be really interesting to see where that business goes, expect just depending on how long this, like I said, the quarantine is. And I just think that depending on who you follow as well, like whether it's like someone more fashion related or travel related, it'll be interesting to see how that content changes in the next few months.
Well, this quarantine has so much unpredictability about it. As we're recording this, we here in Virginia are still in a mandatory stay-at-home order from our state government. We know that other states have kind of are loosening the restrictions, so to speak. So there are some challenges ahead as we re-enter into the workplace. But in the May issue, you focus on a whole bunch of people where they're sharing how they're staying connected and engaged in spite of this quarantine.
Yeah, again, these were just people I found on Instagram. That's the craziest part. I found this one Instagram account that highlights Christian bloggers, and I just messaged a bunch of people and I said, I just want to hear from you. You know, like, what are you doing? How are you staying connected? How are you staying positive? How are you staying busy? And I heard back from a handful of people. And then I also highlighted a couple celebrities who are doing Instagram lives, such as Steph Curry and Katie Stevens, doing Instagram live sessions, and just to like inspire and keep people connected with what's going, just what's going on around the world.
Well, we turn our attention now and we encourage you to give a listen to some of our millennials that have contributed ways that they're staying connected.
Okay, so go ahead and just tell us a bit about yourself.
I am Jena Holliday. I am an artist and an illustrator. I am from Minnesota, where I'm married to my husband, and we have 2 kids here. And I'm an encourager. I love to just encourage people with words and art. And that's a little bit about me.
That's awesome. So for the May issue, you submitted just kind of like what you were doing to stay busy, staying positive, and staying connected with loved ones. Do you want to go ahead and kind of tell us about that?
Sure. So during this season, I've really been kind of tapping into being an encouragement to others because it's naturally just something that I love to do. So, like, whenever I'm able to share a positive word or just a word of comfort to others, I do that. But what's cool is that because I do illustration and design, I love to create pieces that I can share online so that other people can also share those with people. And so we're really just sharing those positive words and those encouraging words around the internet. And so that helps to lift my spirit because when other people are impacted by it, it helps me, and then it also helps lift others as well. And I do a lot of that through my Instagram account, at A Spoonful of Faith.
That's awesome. And I also noticed that you do a lot of illustrations because you're an artist. And I see that you put like quotes around your pictures. Is that something that you get a lot of positive feedback on?
Yeah, so I put quotes on a lot of my images, or I'll just draw and illustrate things, and people really respond well to that visual, like that visual art online.
That's awesome. And can you go ahead and tell our listeners where they can find you at?
Sure, you can follow me at A Spoonful of Faith on Instagram, or you can find any of the different things that I'm doing and working on at spoonfuloffaith.com.
Okay, so go ahead and just start by introducing yourself.
All right, my name is Paige Taylor. I'm 22 years old. I am a graduate of Southern New Hampshire University, up in New Hampshire. And so I just graduated with my communications degree with a focus in new media. And I started my own blog called Paige's Proverbs in 2017. And now I'm just focusing on building my brand and trying to be the best mom I am to my 8-month-old, and starting to like write books and come out with different courses and things like that.
That's awesome. And what is your son's name?
My son's name is Kason.
Aw, and it sounds like, you've got your hands full. How do you balance, like, being a mom and, working, and then just also, like, with this pandemic going on, like, how are you balancing all of that?
It is definitely tough, but what I try to do is I try to, like, for me, schedules help. Trying to stay on a schedule and knowing what's coming next, that helps a lot for me. But most of all, I try to just make sure that I give myself time to do something that's just for me, that helps me to relax, to renew myself, and not stress or worry too much.
Yeah, definitely. And then just, what are you doing throughout this time right now to stay positive and stay connected with, like, loved ones?
I am definitely staying in my Bible for sure and talking to God. That helps me a lot to just refocus and not worry and know that God has our best interests at heart and that He's looking out for us through all of this, no matter what, that He's always with us. And to stay connected with family, we actually have a fun group chat that we made that keeps us all connected. So we talk and send pictures and things like that through there all the time.
Oh my God, family group chats are the best.
They're so fun.
You never know, like, who's gonna say what
You
next.
don't. You never know what's going to happen or who's going to say what. It's crazy.
Yeah. Any advice for our listeners, just how to stay positive during this time?
I would say during this time to stay positive, keep watching positive things. If it's on social media, if it's, in your daily life, if you're reading a book, whatever you're watching on TV, keep something positive in front of you. My motto is always keep smiling, keep growing, keep knowing. So no matter what your situation is, smile through it, grow from it, and know the God you serve.
Definitely. And where can our listeners find you at?
They can find me on Instagram. My name on there is Paige's Proverbs, and I have a link to my blog and everything on there in my
Awesome.
bio.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you.
Well, Michelle, I appreciate your time that you took to interview these folks, and it's refreshing to hear how they're staying connected and staying focused in spite of all of these troubling circumstances.
Yeah, it was great to talk to them, to hear their voices, because they'd actually just sent this via email. So it was really nice to be able to just like hear their voices and hear the positivity. So I'm really glad you guys got a chance to hear it too.
I will have to confess, though, I am looking forward to, not watching television shows that are all focused on Zoom calls.
Yeah.
I watched the other day. I watched the Parks and Recreation reunion little show. I don't know if you saw that at all, and I thought it was very clever and it was kind of cute and a little bit contrived. But for those of us who are fans of that show, it was kind of heartwarming and humorous and fun to see that. But at the end of it, I was thinking, man, I sure hope we don't keep on with these kind of productions. I hope we're able to kind of get back to where we were. And I'm sure that a lot of folks, as you were saying earlier, the influencers and the vloggers and all that are hoping that they can get back to some sense of normalcy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm ready to go back to the office too. So I understand.
Well, that's going to end this episode of the Fight for Good podcast. We really thank you for taking a few minutes of your time to give us a listen. We also encourage you to subscribe to Fight for Good wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you can, on some of those places like iTunes in particular, if you can give us a rating, we like the top rating. I think, Elizabeth, is it 5 stars? Is that what we're seeking here?
5 out of 5.
5 at 5 or something. Leave a comment and spread the word as well. Be ambassadors of the Fight for Good podcast on your own social media feeds. Don't forget to follow the War Cry and Peer Magazine on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. And we're really grateful for your time and your support. So until next time, this has been the Fight for Good podcast. Stay healthy and happy, and God bless you.
Subscribe to Fight for Good wherever you listen to podcasts.